Imagine a single building, a single collection, so vast and so brilliant that its destruction became the universal symbol for the death of knowledge itself. For centuries, we've mourned the Library of Alexandria. We've pictured a single, catastrophic fire, lit by Roman soldiers or Christian mobs, flames climbing the shelves, consuming the wisdom of the ancient world in one terrible, smoky night. But what if the Great Fire never was? What if the truth of how we lost the world's first great university is far more tragic and far more human than a simple blaze? I'm Ibnul J. Farabi, and this is Empire Builders, the rise and fall of civilizations. Let's set the scene. Alexandria, Egypt, in the 3rd century BCE. The Ptolemaic kings, successors to Alexander the Great, had a magnificent, almost obsessive ambition. They built the Mouseion, the Temple of the Muses, not just a library, but a research institute. It was a university campus, attracting the greatest minds of the age. Euclid defined geometry here. Archimedes probably studied here. They didn't just collect scrolls, they hunted them. Every ship that docked in Alexandria had its books confiscated, copied by an army of scribes, and the copies, not always the originals, returned. They bargained, borrowed, and stole to get every known text. The goal was universal knowledge, and for a while, they achieved it. So, how does such a center of learning die? The popular villain is Julius Caesar. During a civil war in 48 BCE, Caesar was besieged in Alexandria. The story goes he set fire to his own ships to prevent their capture, and the fire spread to the city, consuming the great library. But ancient sources like the historian Seneca suggest the fire likely damaged warehouses near the docks holding scrolls, perhaps duplicates or materials awaiting transfer. It was a severe loss, but not the death knell. The library as an institution survived. The real story isn't about one fire. It's about 1,000 small neglects. Think of it not as an explosion, but a slow bleed. The decline of the Ptolemaic dynasty meant less royal funding. The Roman emperors who followed were inconsistent patrons. A scholar's salary, the purchase of new scrolls, the meticulous work of preservation. These things stop when the money dries up. Knowledge is fragile. Papyrus scrolls decay. They need to be constantly recopied. Without that active, expensive maintenance, they simply crumble into dust on the shelves. Then came the ideological shifts. In 391 CE, the Christian emperor Theodosius I decreed the destruction of pagan temples. The Serapeum, a magnificent daughter temple of the main library that likely held a secondary collection, was demolished. This was a devastating blow to the physical and intellectual structure of classical learning in the city. But even then, scholars persisted. The final act was likely quieter. By the time the Arab armies took Alexandria in 642 CE, the great library as the Ptolemies envisioned it was already a ghost. The vast collection had dwindled through centuries of indifference, budget cuts, and sporadic violence. The Great Fire was a metaphor, a powerful story that encapsulated a slow, centuries-long tragedy of neglect. It's that slow fade that haunts me. As an engineer, I think about systems. The library wasn't just a building. It was a system: funding, curation, translation, copying. A system requires constant, active energy to sustain. When that energy is diverted, the system degrades. It doesn't need a villain with a torch. It just needs a generation that forgets to pay the scribes, or a ruler who decides philosophy is less important than a new monument. The knowledge doesn't burn. It quietly turns to powder, unread and unremembered. The lesson of Alexandria isn't about protecting knowledge from a single, dramatic fire. It's about the daily, unglamorous work of preservation. It's about maintaining the systems, the libraries, the schools, the open forums that keep ideas alive across generations. Because civilization isn't lost in a moment. It's loaned out, piece by piece, and never returned. For Empire Builders, I'm Ibnul J. Farabi. This is a Light Knot Studios production. Find our archive and more at https://www.lightknotstudios.com.